Hey, it's Isla, and this is Not That Kind of CEO. Today, we're going to be talking about the thoughts that are running through your head, which we're talking about 9 out of 10 times. This time, we're talking about those really loud and sticky thoughts that are basically catastrophical as well. So, you're telling yourself things that aren't true. You're telling yourself, maybe you're not even consciously telling it to yourself, but if you find yourself hesitating to take action, for example, to be visible online, which is something that I've seen a lot lately, which is why I came to this topic today. Um, well, let's talk about it because very often we think that we just should think more positively and that will solve the problem. But that's not the case, and especially not for women. So let's unpack it.
Hi, I'm Ayla, and I am not that kind of CEO. You won't find me in a fancy corner office, but rather in a quiet corner of my home. I followed a bold vision and built my life and business around it. That's how I ended up in France, where I'm raising two little girls, renovate our 500-year-old castle together with my husband, run a coaching business, and still have space to breathe. After a decade of helping women simplify their business to make room for what matters most, I created this show to help you do the same. Let's build your business around the life you love. Welcome to Not That Kind of CEO.
Hey, love, welcome back to Not That Kind of CEO. The topic for today's episode came to me because I was discussing something with my business bestie. She is in a membership. The person that runs the membership had announced to the group that they were taking a little break because of some personal things that were going on, and the group exploded. People were saying the weirdest stuff. There was a lot of drama. People thought they were entitled to content and were not giving this person a break about them needing to have a break, stuff like that. And we were just saying to each other, people really say the weirdest shit online. Like, how can you be so entitled and to go, I demand my content while somebody has clearly set up a boundary and said, you know what, I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. I really need to have the space for myself to figure some things out. Like, what goes through your head when you react like that? Like, aren't we all humans helping other humans? Anyway, we were talking about it. Since we are both growing our businesses, expanding it in ways that we haven't expanded before, we were talking about, can we handle this? Because when we're going to be bigger online, we're also going to be encountering these kind of people. Or at least, I don't want to, it's not this kind of person, but it's this kind of behavior. Because I'm assuming that these people are kind, normal people who also just want to provide a service to the rest of the world and just want to help or something. Like, my whole audience are female entrepreneurs. So I'm assuming that when you're an entrepreneur, you can help someone with something. That's the whole thing about having a business. You'll be able to help someone with something that you offer. So, if that's the case, then these people aren't inherently bad. They're just behaving in a strange way. So, I was thinking to myself, am I ready? Am I ready to handle this kind of behavior? Because when you put yourself out there, people are going to be invested. People are going to be asking something back of you. And I know that I can I can feel like I'm really cornered with that. I have an Instagram account for our French castle, and I have 7,000 something followers, 7,500. And 9 out of 10 times when I post something, people will criticize, or people, that scares me even more actually, people will sort of leech onto it and say, oh my God, I'm so glad you posted something. I haven't heard from you in so long. Or people will be sending us good morning messages from all around the world, just without us even doing anything, not posting in a while, whatever. People will send us things like, I was thinking of you. Like, that's so random, Susan from Ohio. Why are you thinking about us? It's something that I'm dealing with. How can I deal with this? How can I grow online and still be okay with all the opinions and behaviors that are out there? And so I started researching this. Like, how can I handle this? And The thing here is that this is where the woman part comes in. Because as so very often, I feel that men have to deal less with this, although it goes for them as well. But what's really happening is that your physical state and your psychological state are getting messed up with each other. So when you're sleep deprived, when you're overstimulated, when you're depleted in general, what happens is that your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that scans for threats, it becomes hypersensitive. At the same time, your prefrontal cortex, I always point here, I don't know if it's situated there. Should really look this up, but because it says prefrontal, I'm always assuming that it's here. Your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the rational thinking, for giving you a perspective, it just goes offline, it disappears. So when you're sleep deprived, for example, you are scanning for threats more than usual, and at the same time, you cannot rationally process the threats that you actually find, meaning your thoughts actually feel more true and they feel more urgent than they actually are. So, this is not some kind of weakness in how you think things or the way you talk about things. It's actually something that has to do with your biology. There has actually been research which states that sleep deprivation amplifies negative emotions by 60%. 60, not 16, 60%. That's more than half. That's a lot. So, if you've had a bad night, if you have small kids that are keeping you up at night, if you're perimenopausal and you have the lovely night sweats coming along and you're not sleeping well, 60% more negative emotional responses to whatever is going on in your brain. Then there's something else that really counts for me because we have always been lucky to our kids sleep. Like they have slept from the beginning and I have not been sleep deprived because of small kids. Like that's a blessing right there. What I do have is chronic overstimulation. I'm very sensitive to sounds. I'm very sensitive to input all the time. Like, I literally said to my husband yesterday, please stop the input. Everything was happening and everyone was asking something of me. And he had been out on the terrain doing some work. So he had been by himself for a while and he saw me and he was like, oh, nice. We're going to chat. But I wasn't chatting, but he was. So he was just going, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." And I was just sitting there. I was making the kids lunch. The alpacas had escaped their enclosure. The dogs were on the loose. It was just all happening all at once. And at that moment, my husband chose to just go. And I was just like, please stop the input. Like, I cannot handle more input right now. Chronic overstimulation. This keeps your cortisol elevated and that keeps the brain in threat scanning mode. So if you find yourself thinking a lot of negative thoughts, just ask yourself this: have I had any silence today? Have I had a moment just to think my own thoughts for myself without all the input at all the sides? Then there's one as well that's super important, and that's the question: have I been on for too many people? For me, this goes hand in hand with the whole chronic overstimulation, but it's the mental load. So you don't even need external input for this. This is just what's going on in your life on a day to day basis. And this is also why I said I think that this applies more to women, to men, because it's just generally we have more of the mental load. For me, like having been on, that's really a good question because I tend to run around very reactively to all the members of my family. Like, can I make someone breakfast? Do I need to run a laundry? Have the alpacas had their feed this morning? Someone even opened the gate for them so they could roam into the pasture, or are they still locked up there? Did someone feed the dogs? I don't even have to list, like, you have a mental load. I don't need to project my mental load onto you. But this is something that doesn't really manifest as physical tiredness, but it will keep your brain running and running and running. This depletes your capacity, and the capacity is the magic word here. Because when we think that we should be thinking more positive thoughts, we tend to really be strict with ourselves. Like, oh, I really don't want to be thinking negative thoughts right now. I really don't want to let this online comment hit me so much. I really should be thinking about this positive. I really should be able to let this go. It's the shoulding again, always the shoulds. But just realize that if you are sleep deprived, if you're chronically overstimulated, or if you have that massive mental load going, you have a capacity problem. So your brain is literally just struggling to keep running in the first place. And then you're giving yourself a hard time for taking that online comment by anonymous user X personally. Like, that's not fair. You don't have the capacity to deal with that right now. So, here's the thing I want to get into for the moment, because when I think about this whole issue, as I just demonstrated with the example, I tend to think about the opinions of others online. And I see that this, for many of my clients, this is what holds them back in growing their business. There's some kind of mental block, whether it's being afraid to be visible. It usually just boils down to being afraid of rejection, of being afraid to be judged, because that's what's happening. And this is something that can really hold you back, whether you consciously know it or not. If you find yourself procrastinating a lot on creating content, on putting yourself out there, there's something at play here. Being sleep deprived or overstimulated or having that mental load or all three of them is really making this way worse than it is. But at the same time, that's not something that we can solve easily. That's just the nature of having a life with a business, with little kids. So if that's something that we cannot fix right now, let's try to fix the other thing. How are you handling the opinions of others online? First of all, let's just think about what an opinion is. The opinions of other people is their projection of something in their life onto you. Their opinion is nearly never actually about you, but as something that they think, something that they found to be true in their lives, and they're just going to project it onto you, saying whatever you're saying is nonsense because I know that my experience is true. So whatever you're saying, you shouldn't be saying it at all. Like, that's your opinion. And what's happening even more often is that these opinions are coming from people that are not even playing in the same field as you are. They have their own shit with being visible. They have their own shit with growing a business. And they are trying to project their fear onto you. Just don't accept it. Just realize this whenever you read an opinion from someone else about you, about what you're doing, about what you're offering, about your product, about your service, about your whatever. There's something about it that's triggering them, and that's their problem. And that sounds like a you problem, is what we say around here. Like, if someone is projecting a fear, one of my kids, my husband, even I, but then the other way around onto my husband, we just go, that sounds like a you problem. And that's a lovely way to just continue on with your life. The second thing is assuming here that you want to grow your business. Assuming here that growing your business needs to be more, you need more visibility. More eyeballs on your product means that more people have the possibility to buy it, right? And this goes for everything. Like, even if you make stems from potatoes and you sell them in a physical shop, if you want to sell more of your potato stems, you're going to need to have more people know about that you exist there and that you have a shop and that they can give you raw potatoes. So if you're not getting any opinions online about others, from others, about the product that you're offering or the service, you're playing too small. It's really lovely for your own brain that you're avoiding this attention. It's really lovely that you are allowing your brain to keep you safe. But if this is something that you want, you're gonna need to play bigger. And if you're not getting trolls online, it means that you're playing too small. Okay? Third thing that you can keep in mind whenever your brain is trying to convince you to just shy away from all the growth, you don't need everyone, you need alignment. It's as simple as that. If someone comments and if someone is bashing you, if someone is bashing your product, whatever, okay, then it's not for you. Then I am not the person for you. To take myself as an example, there are a lot of coaches out there for female entrepreneurs with little kids who want to grow their business. There's a lot of people talking about the ways that your mind works, how you can make your mind work for you. Like, there's a lot of competition out there. Do I care? No, I don't. Because you are listening to me right now. You're watching me right now. And that means that I apparently have something that you need to hear. That's cool. Hi, lovely that you're here. And if you're watching this, but you hate me and you hate my face and you hate my background, like, why are you even still here? But, you're probably not still here because you will see this and or hear this and you will just go, oh, she has an awful voice. I can't listen to her. Fine, then I'm not the person for you. You need someone to click with. Otherwise, you won't click and you won't get the results. That goes for you, but it goes for your clients as well. Like if you're selling your potato stamps and people are like, oh, but I really hate potatoes. Fine, then go stamp your stamps with something else. Like buy a wooden rubber stamp to make your creations. I don't know why I'm into potato stamps today, but just roll with it. This is really something to keep in mind. You're not going to be for everyone. Like, do you even want to be for everyone? Here's my Libra rising just going, why not? You could be for everyone. Like, no, you couldn't. And that's fine. People are going to judge you and people are going to say, I can't listen to them based on whatever, based on whatever. Maybe you sound exactly like their third grade teacher that they really hated. Or maybe you look exactly like the crush they once had that didn't replicate their love. That's not something you can do about. Move on with your life. Don't care about it. Let them be and be there for the people that really are aligned with you. That's the most important thing. Lastly, the thing that you can do, and this is a bit of a tricky one, I think, because this comes back to emotional resilience. And we just established that emotional resilience will be lower based on how you're feeling. So you could go really hustle bro here and say, I need to up my state, change your life. Which is true, by the way, but that's something that we just ruled out that as a possibility for right now, for today. If you're sleep deprived today, don't go, I need to change my state. And, okay, no. But on the long term, being emotionally resilient is going to help you so much because that means that you are going to choose your own vision, your own standards above the reactions of the people that see you. They can just throw anything out there and you can be, I don't care because I know what my standards are. I know what my vision is. I know where I want to go. You're keeping control of your power. You're not giving your power away. And this is something that might be more difficult on the days that your life is more lifey than usual, but it is something that I have done a lot in the last few years. Am I giving my power away here? Because I can really let a comment get to me. I can really take that comment with me and just pin it here on my shirt and take it with me all day long. And whenever there's a small moment of silence, I just go, oh, yes, that nasty comment. And in that moment, I'm giving my power away to the person online that's given the comment. And this is something really cool that I've done with my kid lately as well. She was giving her power away to something a friend of hers says. Mind you, they're 6 and 7, they're really like they're small. But I explained this to her. Like, imagine that she came to your door, she rang your doorbell, you opened the door, and you were like, hi, you're here. Okay, so here's my personal power. And they would just go, what do I need with your personal power? You don't need it, but I wanna give it away to you. I just wanna give my will to think to you. They'd probably be standing there just going, "I don't want your will to think. I just made a nasty comment. I don't want your life?" Like, okay, so take your power back. You don't need to let that one comment ruin your life, ruin your day, even your hour, even a minute. Just let it go. Know where you're going, keep attached to the vision, know where your standards are, and build that emotional resilience. This is not going to happen with the first 10 negative comments that you're going to get. You're going to take them with you. But over time, you give it 10 minutes to really sit with it and go, yes, that really sucks. Hold on, what am I doing right now? Am I going to give my power away or not? And your mind's going to go, yes, no, yes, no. That's fine. And then over time, it's going to take you 30 seconds. And then there comes a moment when you see a negative comment like that and you just go, that's cute. And you move on with your life. That's a lot. let's leave it there because I have a lot of practical tips on how you can do this on a day-to-day basis, but I think that this is enough already. Just keep in mind mostly that it's your physical state that's making this way harder for you than it needs to be. And if that's not something that you can change today, just keep the other four things that I just mentioned in mind. And before you know it, you won't feel any hesitation, you don't feel any procrastination, and you can just go and build that momentum that you're craving. See you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Not That Kind of CEO. If this episode gave you clarity, encouragement, or just even a moment to breathe, I'd love it if you left a review. It helps more women like you find this show, and that means the world to me. And if you're ready to build a business that fits your life, you know where to find me. See you in the next episode.